Hello and good evening, and welcome to the Smart Investing Show with Alton Brooks. It is Monday, March the 15th. The month is going by real quickly. Spring is around the corner. Tonight's show, we're talking about financial freedom with our guest this evening. But before we get our guest on, we'll just quickly recap a little bit from earlier today where we had some major news with Rogers Communications buying Shaw Communications to create one of the biggest telecommunications companies across Canada. Now, if you were owning Shaw shares, you actually were rewarded quite richly. The stock was up well over 50% or more. If you invested in Rogers, you also came out ahead. You may be wondering what is causing or has caused these two companies to merge. One of the reasons for that is called 5G. That's the next generation of telecommunications heading our way, about 100 times faster than what we're currently used to when it comes to the internet. That requires a lot of capital outlay. And what companies such as Rogers and such as Shaw and others will find out is that it's going to cost a lot of money to get this installed across Canada and upgraded. So when your pockets are not deep or deep enough, you find your competitors that you compete with fiercely and you become friends. You shake hands and you allow them to purchase or merge with you, which is what happened today. Of course, when mergers happen, usually leads to layoffs. Shaw and Rogers have promised to actually hire employees in Alberta. Let's hope that they stick to that plan and across Canada, not to lay off too many people, but of course that will be one of the consequences of this merger. Of course, there's also less competition. We have Bell Canada, we've got TELUS as their major competitors. With one out of the fold, now there's only 3 instead of 4. Usually that will lead to price increases. But hopefully it'll also lead others to step up and take the place of this fourth company that's disappeared and to offer more competition. Another piece of news to look out for is when it comes to marijuana. New York State has taken steps and actually are very close to legalizing marijuana. And once that happens, the marijuana stocks will start flying once again. As more and more states continue to legalize this particular industry, and of course, with Biden as president, it's a matter of time before the federal government legalizes as well. So keep an eye on that piece of news as that will have some effect on the markets this week. So we're talking about generational wealth tonight. We're talking about getting people in a state of financial freedom. And for that, I have my guest on this evening, the CEO and founder of Flip and Floss. His name is Andre Smith, and he will join me momentarily. This is an individual actually who has won a CBC Volunteer Community Award just last year. He's put a lot of time and effort into educating those who are willing to listen. And we have him on here tonight to talk about financial information and also his book later on in our discussions. We will touch base on that. So, Mr. Smith, welcome to our program.
Thanks for having me, Alton.
You are certainly welcome. So give us a little bit of your background. Tell us a little bit about yourself and anything you wish to share.
Of course. So for those who know me, knows that I'm from Spanish Town, Jamaica. Moved to Canada about 10 years ago. Actually, this year is going to make 10 years. So finally reaching my decade in this country. I'm a graduate of a school in Toronto. I won't name the school yet because apparently there's something coming up regarding that. Um, but I completed my undergrad in accounting, and I'm currently pursuing my chartered professional accounting designation. And so, as you rightfully mentioned, I founded Flip and Floss, which is an acronym for Financial Literacy and Investor Program, and future leaders obtaining sufficient skills. Something I'm really proud of, and the work that we've done in the past and the work that we continue to do for the community.
So tonight we're talking about financial freedom. I'm sure everyone's got their pen, their paper handy. They're ready to write down, they're ready to tweet, text, talk. Give us some simple strategies when it comes to financial freedom that anyone can understand and do. What are some of the things that people can do to better themselves financially?
Mhm. Of course. Well, the first step is really um, coming up with a plan of what financial freedom or financial independence mean for you. Of course, it will mean different things for different people. And so in that plan, you want to outline your goals as it relates to the short term. So it could be what you intend to achieve in the first year, 5 years, when you retire, etc. So that's the first step. Is figuring out that plan. And a lot of people would create a vision board because having your goal visually on your wall really helps you. So that's the first step. The other thing is you want to do an assessment of your current financial situation to see where you are currently. Am I in debt? Am I in a surplus? How much am I making? Um, what will it take to get to that point of financial freedom, whatever it looks like for you? The other thing you want to do is, if you're currently in debt, you definitely want to come up with a plan to get out of it and stay out of it, right? So there are different methods and strategies that you can utilize to get out of debt. We actually shared some of those in our recent newsletter. So that's the other piece. And then you want to figure out um, how you're going to sustain your income. And I like to tell people to have multiple streams of income. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, I have a job that's safe." As we've seen with COVID, that no job is safe, and uh, unfortunately, a lot of people lost their jobs. So you definitely want to build multiple streams of income as you're working toward financial freedom. And if you have a salary and you start investing in the stock, which is something Alton talks about on this show all the time, you could potentially create three streams of income. Capital gains and dividend, right? So building that multiple stream of income, and it does require a lot to start investing. You can start with $100, 500, any amount. Then you want to create a savings plan, right? Figure out how much you're going to save from your current income. You definitely want to do that. And I mean, all of this plan should be captured in a budget that tracks how much you make, how much you spend, how much you're gonna save. Those would be some of the simple tips that I'd really give. And overall, your attitude and behavior toward that plan is what is extremely important. A lot of people you'll hear this is that it's not how much you make, it's how much you save, right?
Yeah, it's
And so that behavioral
interesting.
piece becomes important.
It's interesting you talk about it's not how much you save. As just last week, I believe, a professional hockey player making
Hmm.
millions of dollars declared bankruptcy,
Yeah,
and he's actually still playing. So you
right,
wonder how someone making millions can actually be in a position where they're still an active player
right.
but is in bankruptcy. So tell us about the importance of managing your money, because I mean
Hmm.
that is a big fail.
Right.
Unfortunately, lots of entertainers, lots of sports athletes, they fall into that trap. They make lots of money, just like regular people do as well, and that
Mhm.
trap becomes where somehow you end up spending much more than you actually have. So speak to us about the importance of money management.
Yeah, no, you're right. Management is extremely important, and we've seen that with a lot of celebrities, a lot of people, even people who won the lotto, they don't have effective money management skills. And what does that look like? You definitely want to keep tabs of how much money is going out, right, and where it's going. If you're not tracking that, then you're going to lose sight of where your money is going. And what a lot of people start doing is that they start to spend money on things as they're making it. So you definitely want to figure out what percentage of your money is going towards things and what percentage is going toward asset, if any. If all of your money is going toward buying things, flashy things or cars or whatever, depreciating assets, then you have a problem. And that's what a lot of these individuals find themselves into, right? You want to diversify your income. So if as you start to make more, you should start thinking about what assets can I invest in? Can I buy real estate? Can I buy stock? Can I invest in a startup company? Whatever the case is, you want to start putting your money into different things so that it's not going toward things that are not going to produce a return. And essentially, that's what reaches a lot of these people who start to make money. They start, living this lavish lifestyle that is not sustainable. It's only sustainable once you're at that current income. But once you're no longer making that money, how do you sustain that lifestyle that you've built based on expenses and not investment?
Now, you've also been quite open about some of the problems you've had in the past,
Mm-hmm.
learning about managing money and handling it and some of the issues that you've gone through financially.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any additional pitfalls that we should look out for? Or maybe situations we find ourselves in, how we can get out of them? Any tips you can offer there?
Absolutely. One of the things I always talk about when I talk about my personal journey, because as you rightfully mentioned, I was in debt of about 50 grand, majority of which is consumer debt. And what I realized is that once you're in that situation, a lot of the choices you make, they become emotional, right? Because you're just trying to stay afloat. It's like, you're drowning and you're just grabbing the next piece of debris to try to stay afloat. So you start to make a lot more terrible decisions. And one of the decisions that I made during that time was trying to use debt to pay off debt. So one of the things that I did was to get an overdraft protection.
Right.
And so I actually dug myself deeper. For those who don't know, an overdraft is where the bank gives you a certain sum of money to use until you get your pay. It almost works like a payday loan. So you create what you call a debt trap, right? And so it becomes harder to come out of that situation. My suggestion again, and as cliche as it sounds, is going back to that budget, because a budget is just more than tracking expenses. It's actually a tool that you can use to guide your behavior in terms of how you manage your finances. So when you start looking at where the money is coming from, where it's going, then you can start to say, you know what? Maybe I have all of these subscriptions that I don't need. And all of these subscriptions, I can take the money and I can pay off this debt, right? I pay off a small one and I take it and I put it over here, right? So it is the most effective strategy that you can use. And what I did is that I looked at all my balances owing, and then I took, so for example, in the year I have like 26 biweekly payment. What I'll do, I'll say, okay, 26 divide by the debt. And it will say, okay, you can pay it off in a year, three
Right.
years, whatever. And then I start working toward doing that. And again, seeing if you can have like a side hustle or build something on the side that can help you to get out of debt quickly. But what you want to avoid is taking on more debt to try to get out of debt.
Interesting, interesting. That
Mhm.
definitely makes sense because, as you know, doing that you can end up piling on even more
Precisely.
and dig a
Yeah.
deeper hole
Dig a
for
deeper hole.
yourself.
Yeah. Unless it's a consolidation with a
Hmm.
lower interest rate, I would say try to avoid taking on more debt.
For sure. Now, I'm just going to segue quickly, but one last question about, I've heard that, you're an avid person who buys stocks on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Tell me about, getting our children into owning stocks. I understand that your son, who's just probably about a couple inches high off my knee, is actually an owner of some stocks. So share that and talk about why it's important to get our children knowledgeable and knowing about investments at a very
Mhm.
early age.
Yeah, it is extremely important, and kids learn at a faster rate than us, and so I feel like once you start to teach them these things and the habits from early, it becomes something that will be a part of their journey. And so for my son, I actually introduced him to stocks, and every time he sees me pull up the computer screen and he sees the red and the green numbers, he knows it's stock. He said stocks, stocks,
Wow.
right? So he knows.
It's interesting he
And
doesn't think it's a Christmas tree, red
exactly,
and
well,
green.
he does that. That's the good thing. And I try to explain it to him. He's only two. I still explain it to him, even though he doesn't fully understand. But I continue to talk with him as though I would talk to myself. So I'd say, Nathan, your stock is up 50%, and we just invested a couple of years ago. So I actually have that conversation. Right now, he's invested in Disney and Petco,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And his Disney stock is up 58%.
Wow. He's doing
His
well.
He's doing pretty well. His Petco stock is down,
Okay.
but it's one that I strongly believe in, and I know it will
Right.
recover.
Well, but
But
he's
it's
definitely
extremely
investing
important
for the long term.
for the long term. He is investing for the long term.
Nice. Okay, well, I see that you're definitely in the planning game as far as investing goes. So, being a young man, and looking out into the crystal ball, when do you see yourself, as people would say, early retiring, or being able to just do what you want to do and not necessarily have to work or do anything else? When do you see yourself calling it a day when it comes to having enough investments to live off?
Well, my lucky number is 40 45.
Okay.
By that time, I want to actually focus on, fully on flip and floss and community work.
Hmm.
So I actually, I'm extremely passionate about financial literacy and building a financially fit community. So I'd say, around 40, 45. And I've actually put plans in place, and I'm actively and aggressively working toward achieving those goals. So even though my number is 40, I actually have performance goal throughout each year that I want to achieve to get me to that milestone.
Excellent. Very good. We are in conversation with Andre Smith, the CEO of Flip and Floss, a financial literacy program that they offer. We will be right back after these messages with more from Andre.
You can officially download our free GBKM app from the App Store and the Google Play Store. Okay, now what is the best thing about this app? Well, it is that you have all of the features from the website that is portable in your hand, ready to use and ready to go. Now I'm just gonna guide you through what we have available on our app right now. So here, this is the page where you can watch our live TV, our GBCam TV. You can watch live, enjoy the shows live. Now, if you go to our tabs, you can check out any shows you missed in the past shows tab, and that takes you to the past shows that have happened in the last week. And if you just scroll down, you can see those past shows in order, chronological order with their dates next to them as well. So if you've missed a show, no worries, just go to the past show tab and you can catch up on your favorite GBKM entertainment. Going back to our menus tab again, you can check out our upcoming shows so you do not miss any past shows. You can check out our breaking news section, which is our newest section as well, to learn of any breaking news within the diaspora, across the globe, all of that good stuff, so you can stay engaged and up to date on what's going on with our breaking news tab on the GBKM app, and also available on the website. And as you can see, there are other tabs there. You can listen to our live radio, our live TV. You can learn more about our on-air personalities by going to our OAP tab. All of that good stuff.
Welcome back to the Smart Investing with Alton Brooks show on GBKM Network. You can find us at www.gbkm.tv. You can find us on the radio at the .fm, www.gbkm.fm, or via our app on Android or iOS. Thank you for joining us this evening. And we have the pleasure of having with us the CEO and founder of Flip and Floss, Mr. Andre Smith, with us this evening. And we continue our conversation. And we'll talk about, when it comes to investing, a lot of people may not necessarily have the knowledge or feel that they have the aptitude to understand it. How much time do you think people as a whole should spend trying to understand more about it? Or how much time should they spend reading to try to help formulate for themselves where they need to go?
That's a pretty good question. I'd probably say anywhere between 20 minutes to an hour, depending on, like your how much time you have. But it's definitely something you want to read on every day. Like personal finance you can never learn too much, and there's a lot to learn. Investing can be challenging for a lot of people. It's a new area, so you definitely want to make sure you understand. I would probably say start with doing a search about fundamentals of investing so that you're learning basic concepts. But it's something that you're going to continue to learn. As much as I know a lot about investing, I still continue to learn, and I read every single day about
Every
investing.
day. That's a lot of
Yeah,
reading.
it is a lot of reading, but you know what? It's You learn a lot, good stuff.
Yeah. So in other words, you have to make a commitment to
You have to
doing
make a
it on a
commitment,
regular basis.
definitely.
Now, speak about the pressures of family or other coworkers and other people when it comes to trying to understand what you're trying to do. Talk about when it comes to making better choices. How do you manage or handle that peer pressure or otherwise that may be there, whether it's family, whether it's
Hmm.
coworkers, whether it's your neighbor, someone buys a car next door, you got to go buy a better car.
Yeah,
Your brother, your sister, has a great wardrobe, so you got to go upgrade yours as well. So you have all these urges and pressures, but you're trying to do the right thing. So how do you sort of cope or manage that without sort of feeling that you're not,
yeah.
being true to
Well, I
yourself?
mean, thankfully at home it's not like that because my wife and I are on the same page when it comes to finances.
Hmm.
But definitely with friends, it is a challenge because a lot of the times, my friends, they want to do things spontaneously. They want to go and get the latest everything, and
Right.
a lot of my friends are quite flashy,
Hmm.
and so it is really hard because sometimes I'm around them and I feel like, oh my God, I haven't shopped in a while. I haven't gotten, I've had my car going over 7 years now,
Right.
and I don't have the most expensive car, so it is there. The peer pressure is there from friends, and sometimes people tell me I'm too cheap or I'm too this. So it is really challenging. But it's one of those things because I wasn't like this in terms of my finances. But you know that they say repeated behavior becomes a habit, right? And I think because I've been conditioning myself like this for quite a while, it's almost like I've developed the propensity to block out
Hmm.
all, I want to call it noise, right? So
Right.
the pressure will be there, but it's something that will become a part of you over time. So you just keep pushing and take incremental steps,
Just
and
build up
so
that intestinal fortitude.
yeah, there you go.
Well, as you talk about flossing, I'm just going to flip over to
Good
you
one. I love
being an
it.
author and your first book, or maybe it's not
Yes.
your first book, but the first one that I've read, Living Purposefully Beyond the Walls of the Ghetto.
Mhm.
Congratulations on you becoming a well known author through this book.
Thank you.
And, I actually did read it quite thoroughly. It was quite personal, actually.
Hmm.
And I commend you for, showing the strength that you showed and actually being so open about everything that, life is thrown at you. So I commend you for that. Before we
Thanks.
continue, I'm just going to remind viewers we're going to put up my email address on the screen. And we're going to give away a copy of this book tonight, along with a deck of playing cards as well, which is actually a flip and floss playing card deck, which actually teaches you while you play. So the first person that can tell me the university in Toronto that Mr. Smith went to will be the winner of his book and playing cards this evening. So take a look at your screen for the email address, and the first person with the right answer to his alma mater locally here in Toronto University will win this prize. All right. So looking back at the journey throughout the book that you talked about, do you have any regrets about any parts of it, or anything that you've gone through in life? Do you have any regrets about any of it?
Um, I would say no. The things that some of the things I described in my book, they're beyond my control. But I think my journey it has prepared me for the man that I've become,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm actually proud of the person that I am. Could certain things play out differently? Definitely, yes. Could I avoid certain experience? Yes. But I've used those to make me a better person. And reflecting on the person that I am today, I would say I don't really have any regrets. There are certain things that I've described in the book, and the winner of the book will actually get a chance to see what I talk about. But I think in terms of regret, the persons responsible for some of these things, they are probably going to be the ones in regret when they really see the person that I've become.
Right. Now, I'm not going to give anything away out of the book so that
Yeah.
it doesn't ruin anything for anyone. But you
Hmm.
talk about um, that getting your family out of the ghetto was one of the greatest achievements that you looked forward to. So I want to know, how did it feel when you actually accomplished that, when that day came and you were actually able to say, yes, I did it? How did that
Hmm.
feel?
It's actually really good, and it is crazy because it didn't feel that way until I got married and start my own family.
Mm-hmm.
That it really dawned on me that I'm actually out of the ghetto
Right.
and I have a new life, and I have my family and all my siblings are here with me. But it felt really good because it is something that I really look forward to. At the time, it was my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
but she's not here with us physically, but in spirit.
Right.
But definitely feels good. It's rewarding, and I think the other side to that, it's been given the platform to help other youths get out of the ghetto and to break free from some of the challenges that they experience. And I think that's really it for me.
Now, you're also a very young man, and to write such a powerful book so early, I found that very interesting. So tell us why you needed to write this book so soon.
There are two driving. All right. So my friend that I talked about in the book, and I think I'm giving away a little bit here, but when he passed, it was a big motivation for me because what I realized is that a lot of people, when they tell their story, it's when they're much older, and so almost there's this disconnect between you and the youth we are trying to reach. And I'm trying to reach that youth, that young person who is currently in that situation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when you have a situation where the age is not too far from each other, I
Right.
feel like it's a lot easier to connect with these people.
It's more
So I
pure.
want to be able to connect with young people to say, hey, look at me.
Mm-hmm.
I am not much older than you are. I have been there. You can get out too. And so that's what was my driving force combined with when my friend passed away, and he died at a really young age. And so I wanted to inspire a lot of youth to make
Mm-hmm.
better choices.
That is great. Now, in closing tonight, give me one last answer to a question. What would you always like to do as soon as you get more time to do it?
Spend time with my son.
Okay, that is terrific.
um, like yeah, it's crazy because I'll tell you, I love to be on the road doing things, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like these days is every time I'm out and I know I'm busy and I, I think about him and I'm like, no, I have to go home to like go see him.
Nice,
So
nice.
definitely something I love doing is spending time with him.
Well, we don't get enough accolades as responsible fathers, and you only hear about the ones who are not. So I'm glad
Yeah,
that you have a
true.
platform to say that you're proud to be a father, you're proud to take your place, and do your rightful duty and provide and be a great husband. So congratulations for that. I wish you much success in the future. I'm sure
Thank
that
you,
you will
thank
be
you,
successful with the drive that you have, and look forward to you calling it a day at your choosing and doing what you wish to do much more earlier than you anticipated. So thank you again
thank you
for
so
joining us
much.
tonight.
No
That is
problem.
our
Thanks for having
show for this evening. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to spend with us. May you have a safe week, and join us again next Monday night as we have a new guest to speak with. Thanks again, and have a great evening.
Stuff. you can officially download our free GBKM app from the App Store and the Google Play Store, okay? Now, what is the best thing about this app? Well, it is that you have all of the features from the website that is portable in your hand, ready to use and ready to go. Now, I'm just gonna guide you through what we have available on our app right now. So here,